All right, Shalom. I want to start by giving our praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and also to their elders, the men that taught them. I pray the Lord have peace, blessings, and mercy upon the households of the hopeful elect. This is the brother Shemai Wan from the Great Millstone Houston Church. And real quick, I want to come with a lesson. I was just meditating on how King David used, or he wasn't king at the time, the account with him and Goliath, how he used past experiences, as fuel to build him up for the next obstacle or, the next thing in his way. And just thinking about the times that we're in, the scriptures tell us that, I'm thinking of Romans 15:4. The things written aforetime were for our learning. We can tap into these scriptures and go back and reflect on, some accounts that really took place. We have access to the knowledge of these accounts and understanding, the things that were going on at the time. But according to prophecy, there's going to be a time like never before. So you won't be able to look at certain accounts in the past that happened and, how they overcame. What did they do when this happened? It's going to be a time like never before, right? But one thing that doesn't change is who we call on, during or while we're going through these experiences, whether it's a test of faith, trying you out or whatever it may be, but something that doesn't change is who we call on for help, who we call on for, deliverance to save us, who we call on for mercy. All right. So with that being said, I just want to get a few precepts. And I pray this be edifying. So let's get in here. It's 1 Samuel 17:32, and we'll read down to 37. That's the point in verse 37. But verse 32, let's start there. It says, "And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth." And something to add, according to the flesh, it's there's no way possible. That's, so say. But whenever you have Yahweh Bahashem on Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, as your shield and, your buckler, your defense, anything is possible. That's anything and everything is light work to the Lord. Like just thinking about the accounts of, the unexpected happening, just like with David and Goliath, but Daniel getting thrown into the lion's den. You expected him to be devoured by them lions. And I believe the lions were fed every day, but whenever they threw Daniel in there, they stopped feeding them. I think stopped feeding the lions for a total of 6 or 7 days. But yet what happened? Daniel got fed in there, unexpectedly. Just shows you this is the Lord we serve. Daniel was fed in there and the lions didn't harm him one bit. Okay, the Lord delivered him from the death of a wild beast, right? Where he didn't have to lift up a finger. Hey, the Lord shut their mouth. The Lord controlled that. Azariah, Ananiah, and Mishael getting thrown into the furnace. The unexpected happened. Whoever would have thought, they would not have, been tortured and utterly put to death, right? But, hey, reading the prayer of Azariah, I believe it was, the prayer of Azariah, it tells you he went and prayed to the Lord, Hey, even, Daniel receiving the vision, breaking it down to King Nebuchadnezzar, about the dream that he had. Whenever he sent out the decree, if nobody could interpret his dream, he was killing everybody. And what happened? Daniel told Ananias, Azariah, and Mishael, Let's fast and pray to the Lord, But just certain things like the unexpected happens to those that go to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah, But anyway, Salaki for the being long-winded. It's 1 Samuel 17 and 32. Verse 33 again. It says, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. And David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Verse 36, thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living God. So just looking at how, David was telling Saul, things that happened in his past experiences, he brought that up as the fuel to let it be known, like the next one is going to be the same thing. And the reason for the confidence like that, verse 37, because you can't, you can't just make moves like that. The average person is not finna just make moves like that and willingly, approach a situation like that. All right. But 37, somebody who knows and trusts and absolutely believes in their God, which is Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah. That's why it's a difference, man. Verse 37, here's the point. David said, moreover, the Lord hath delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, and he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. See, that's the difference. That's really what gives you that push and that ultimate confidence, because we got the Lord on our side, and that's where our faith lies. Man, the most underdog situations, those that call on Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah in truth and sincerity are heard. And the Lord shows up. The Lord shows up. And we're coming into a time where it ain't gonna be no physical strength, like you finna fight a Goliath, slingshots. I'm saying it could happen. I'm not even being funny. Anything could happen. But understanding how it's set up in the days that we're in, faith, just like David said in verse 37, David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. That's called faith. David already saying it's over with. I'm going to get this nigga. The Lord was with me in the past. The Lord go be with me again. And that's the mindset that he had. And that's called faith. Just like the days we're in. What the hell are we going to physically do? Let's just read this. Jeremiah 30 and 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, the Israelites. But he shall be saved out of it. Somebody got to get out of here. Right? And the scriptures tell us, matter of fact, let me read this first. What am I looking for? So somebody's going to be saved out of it. Right? And it's a remnant. What am I thinking of? Hold on one second. Come on. Where you at? Sirach. Chapter 34 and verse 12 in the GNT. Sirach 34 and 12 in the GNT. I have been in danger of death many times, but I have always been able to escape by relying on past experiences. Verse 13, those who fear the Lord will live because they have put their trust in the one who can save them. That's the difference. That's the difference. Hey, them past experiences got you, right? Whenever you were in them dangers, delivered from death, from those past experiences, whatever they may have been, right? Or just the dangers in period, the trials, just, thinking what we experienced in our life, in our times, right? The what we're reading in the scriptures, hey, verse 13, those who fear the Lord will live. Those who fear the Lord will live because they have put their trust in the one who can save them. Having faith and fear in the Lord, that's the way to go. That's the recipe for success. 14, fear the Lord and you will have nothing else to fear. If your trust is in him, you will never act like a coward. If your trust is in him, you will never act like a coward, right? Faith and fear of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua produces that. What am I looking for? A solid foundation where you won't break and you won't crack. That's why endurance, is possible for those that fear Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua and that got faith in him, right? Because you're not finna be made soft. You're not finna break, even though you're undergoing, suffering. Let me go here. Let's get this, since I brought that out. 2nd Ezra 13 and 16 real quick. I'm going to just stay in the GNT. Yeah, time of trouble is coming like never before. And having a fear and faith in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is the recipe. Past experiences, are exactly what they are in the past compared to a time like never before. That's some new stuff. That's something new, but what are we going to do in those times? Praying to the Lord, fearing the Lord, having faith in the Lord does not change. That stays the same. The experiences can change. The times we're in can change, but that stays the same. 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and 16 in the GNT. It says, I have been thinking how terrible it will be for the people who will be living in those days, but how much worse for those who do not survive. So in the last days, which is we're in now, wait until, wait until these evils continue to get increased and it doesn't turn out, where things are going to get better. It's going to make a complete downward spiral and is just going to continue to gain momentum, until it's over with. But it's going to get worse. What the scriptures just said, Ezra, he seen many visions. The Lord was dealing with him where he showed him some things. And this is what he is saying. Again, 2nd Ezra 13. And what did I just read? 16 in the GNT. I have been thinking how terrible it will be for the people who will be living in those days. It says, but how much worse for those who do not survive? They will be in great sorrow because they will not enjoy any of the pleasures reserved for the last days. So, this is the time we're talking about, the end times. All right. So, verse 19, but how terrible also for those who do survive. They will have to face great dangers and many troubles, as these dreams have shown. Nevertheless, it is better to pass through these dangers and reach the end than to disappear like a cloud from this world and never see what takes place in the last days, he answered. So understanding it's going to be a terrible time just being on the earth in the last times, right? Then on top of that, but how much worse for those that die, that don't make it until the very end, right? It's still going to be a bad time on the earth, right? But guess what? It's going to be worse for those that die because they won't be able to see the pleasures that the Lord has in store that are going to be taking place in these last days. It's going to be some very eventful and spiritual times. That's why the deliverance ain't in the flesh. The deliverance ain't from our might and what we can do. Bro, the spiritual power that we have, that's going to be on 100. And just saying that because we got a little taste right now. We got the truth. We got the names of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai in our mouth, in our spirits, confessing these things, that's spiritual power right there. Why? Because it's not being ignored. It's not being rejected. It's being heard. Right. Let's that's the point from there. But let me jump down to verse 26. So understanding that it's going to be dangerous times on the earth, and even living to see the end is going to be so freaking bad. Right. But it says it's really worse if you die and not be able to see how it's going to play out. But verse 26, here's the point. It says, hold up. Verse 23, that's what I want. Verse 23, it says, the one who brings the dangers in those days will also protect from danger. Right? It says, the one who brings the dangers in those days will also protect from danger. Who? The people who have stored up good works and faithfulness with the Most High, the Almighty One. All right. So that just shows you they remaining faithful, storing up good works. That's not finna be, just disregarded. That's attached to us being protected from the dangers that's going to be, up on the earth. Right. Storing up good works. that's happening right now, within our day to day walk. It was some of the brother Ayashamath from Mississippi said a while ago, or a while back. He said, instead of counting the days, and understanding what he meant or how he said it, instead of counting the days, making the days count. And every day we have the opportunity to store up our treasures, to store up good works, in faithfulness with the Most High, the Almighty One. Hey, and it's going to be acknowledged, But let me see. Let me go back. That's the one who's going to protect us. It ain't going to be us, what we can do. Just like King David, he acknowledged that, or David acknowledged before he was king, back in 1 Samuel 17 and verse 37. This is what was said. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. That's who the deliverer is, the Lord, right? That's how we're delivered from situations. The Lord is attached to our deliverance. Real quick, Psalms 20:7. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. In the GNT, same verse. Some trust in their war chariots and others in their horses, but we trust in the power of the Lord our God. So that's the difference, Yeah, that's it. Just thinking about that, it hit my spirit. King David, he brought up some accounts from the past, to use as fuel for the next one. in front of his face that he had to face. And, the driving force was the Lord. David, he had faith. And the Lord showed you what faith does. The Lord steps in, at the right moments, at the perfect times. And we're in the days where we're about to see. And our faith just has to remain. What we're doing has to remain. It ain't over yet. That's why the scriptures say many are called, but few are chosen. It's how we finish this thing. So Lord willing, matter of fact, let me read this real quick. John 16:1. Just some words from Yahweh Shah to the disciples. John 16:1 in the NLT. I have told you these things so that you won't abandon your faith. Right. And he was telling them some things that were uncomfortable, some trials, sufferings that they had to face. But jumping all the way down to verse 33, John 16:33 in the NLT. I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth, you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world. And, that's why we don't have to abandon our faith. Yahweh Shai already got the victory, and he told us it's going to be a lot of trials and sorrow. So that is not comfortable. It's not good. It won't feel good during the time of Jacob's trouble when it's just, intensified. It ain't going to feel good how things are going to play out whenever, you lose your job, because at the end of the day, nobody is taking no damn chip. Nobody is fucking selling out and just throwing our life away. All of the riches that we got, this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, that the taste, the heavenly gift that we got right now, that's not finna be thrown away because what Esau says, what this man is gonna try to do to us, and that's offensive. That's offensive. This man is really finna try to break our faith away from the Lord. No fucking way. That's why, just like King David was like, man, fuck this Philistine. The Lord delivered me from a bear and a lion. The Lord go deliver me from this nigga too. Just like, man, the things that we go through in the past, the things that we could bring up in this walk, in this life, it should be enough fuel to, with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that we got now to be enough to push us through where we 100% know and believing that the Lord is going to be with us in the times that are coming. He's with us now, and he's going to continue to be with us. That cannot break. That cannot fucking change, regardless of what, the enemy tries to do to throw us off. Why? Because the Lord runs the narrative. The Lord controls the show. All right. And Lord willing, we just continue to endure. So, that's it. I pray this was edifying to the Lord's elect. And Lord willing, until the next time, I say shalom.